Hello, my fellow library patrons, and welcome back to Lahua's Library for all things books and education. Hello, and welcome back. It's been quite the year. It's gone by so quickly, just like every year, to be honest, it just flies by for some reason. So as you can see by the title, I'm going to go over my top 10 reads of 2024. But before I do that, I want to reflect on my reading goals for this year and see how I did. I had a goal of 100 books this year, ambitious, yes, and I also had a set of sub-goals. So for this year, I wanted to read 10 nonfiction, read at least one 800-page book, read 10 historical fictions, 5 classics, 5 horror, 5 dark academia, 5 romance, and 50 of the books that I read have to be authors of the global majority. So I ended up reading 0 nonfiction and 0 800-page book. However, the longest book that I read was 640 pages, and that was The Final Strife by Sarah El-Arifi. So I was almost there, okay? Almost there. So I'm proud of myself. I think I did a good job. For historical fiction, I read 7 out of 10, and I will list the books that I read on screen for you all to see. But yeah, for historical fiction, I read 7 out of 10. For classics, I read 3 out of 5. And for horror, I read 14 out of 5. I read 14 horror books. Clearly, I had a thing for horror books this year. Who knew? And then I read 4 out of 5 dark academia, and then I read 40 books out of 50 who were authors of the global majority. And now for the moment you've all been waiting for. How many books did Desiree read in 2024 when her goal was 100? Drumroll, please. 77. I read 77 books this year. Actually, 78 because I just finished a book a couple days ago. So yeah, 78 out of 100. That's not bad. That is really not bad. I remember when I made this goal, I was like, oh my God, that's a lot. And I remember telling myself I wasn't going to really like beat myself up if I didn't meet that goal. But to be honest, thinking back on my reading journey, I remember like speed reading through books and not really remembering like what I read. I think because I had that goal in the back of my head, and I think I was like unconsciously trying to reach that goal. I'm honestly, I'm now looking back on it, like I'm not mad that I didn't reach that goal. I'm still very proud of myself, and I read some great books this year. And yeah, I think next year though, I think I'm gonna make my goals a little bit more realistic, and focus more on books that I like want to enjoy and just, setting SMART goals. If you're familiar with SMART goals, that's what I'm gonna do next year. Anyway, tea break. Look at my mug. Isn't she adorable? Look at her. Yes. Look at those puffs. Yes. Hair. Beautiful. I think I got that from Target in like the $3 to $5 section. Whatever. All right, let's get into my top 10 books of 2024. Now, I ranked them from I'm not going to share how the star rating, because I ranked them based off of like how memorable and impactful they were for me this year. Let's start with number 10. At number 10, we have The Secret World of Maggie Gray and The First Family by Desiree Granger. Yes, I understand those are 2 separate books. Okay, this is my list. I can make it however I want. Thank you. These 2 books were one of the last books I read this year. I think I finished them in November and December of this year. And the setting of this book, excuse me. Oh my God, girl, stop burping. Jeez, just keeps going. Anyway, the setting of this book, it hooked me. Okay, this takes place in an HBCU in an underground world for Black magical creatures. It was amazing. Honestly, the book was a wild. I'm still thinking about it. It was a wild ride. It was very chaotic, but I loved it. The writing style was unique in the sense that it felt like I was just reading someone's stream of thought and someone's like diary entry, but it was also very like chaotic. But honestly, I really enjoyed like most of the main characters. We had Asha, we had Maggie, we had Susie, and we had Isis. There were like the 4 main girls in this group. And yeah, I pretty much vibed with them all. Susie was my favorite. Susie was my favorite. Yeah. She was like, she's a witch. Asha's a siren. Isis is, what is it called? A nymph. And then Maggie is a vampire, kind of. She has white hair, which is a distinct like marker for the first family. And but she doesn't really, she was kind of thrown thrust into this world, which makes this book even better because she's getting thrown into this world. People hate her family, so by extension they hate her because they think that she's part of the family, and she's just like every person she meets like has this assumption of her because of who she's associated with, and she's still in the world like, bro, what did I do? I'm just trying to live, bro. I'm just trying to I'm just trying to vibe. When I went into this, I didn't know that this book was going to be spicy at all, either one of them. So I would say the first book spice level was between 3 and 4, and then the second book spice level was between 4 and 5. So if you're into that, and the other stuff, I would recommend picking this up. Number 9, we have A Sorceress Comes to Call by T. Kingfisher. This one is like a cozy found family fantasy taking place in Victorian era. Loved it. I read this in, I think it was either October or November, so it was like perfect. It was a perfect fall read. Oh my god. Um, the main character is so cute, like, and sad. It's tragic, honestly. It's kind of like Mother Gothel and Rapunzel. It's about this girl who's pretty much like trapped by her mother. Like, no, yes. She's trapped by her mother, and her mother is basically a villain. Like, she's like the villainest of villains. She can literally control like someone's body, and you don't even know it. So like this girl's entire life, I keep saying this girl because I forgot her name. I'm sorry, but this girl has been like controlled by her mother like her entire life. Like she's like a prisoner in her own body. And this follows the story of like the mother basically trying to get rich by marrying like a rich person or whatever, whatever. And through this journey, the girl kind of meets other people, and these other characters really connect with her and realize what she's going through and help her to defeat her mother, essentially. But it's just really cute. It's really cute. It's sad, but a cozy fantasy read. At number 8, we have Allegedly by Tiffany D. Jackson. This was the first book I read by this author, and I was not disappointed. Okay, this is a YA mystery thriller, and it was so well done. Okay, the ending had me like, the ending is one of those like it's up for interpretation books. I don't know if I'll do a good job of explaining what the book is about, so I'll just put a little blurb here. Okay, somewhere around me. But yeah, this book kind of hit close to home because I used to work with at-risk youth who were in group homes and stuff like that. So, yeah, the system can be a pipeline to, crime and human trafficking and things like that. And I just think that Tiffany does a really good job of integrating social issues into the books that she writes in a way that is not pandering, but and that contributes to the story. And I really appreciate that. All right, at number 7, we have If We Were Villains by ML Rio. I'm laughing because my friend hates this book. But anyway, I knew nothing about Shakespeare before reading this book, and I didn't feel like I needed to. I felt like the message was there. I felt like the author did a really good job of just like immersing us into the world of these theater kids, these Shakespearean, I don't know, thespians. Is that the right word? Mm, I don't know if I'm saying that right. But yeah, I liked how this book kind of touched on everyone's a villain in someone else's story. Being a hero and or villain can be subjective. Um, yeah, I think I would reread this book with a different perspective, knowing everything that happened, and see if I can pick up on any clues. All right, at number 6, we have Where Sleeping Girls Lie by Frida Abike Imide. She's the author of Ace of Spades, which I love that book. She does a really good job of writing like YA dark academia books, and she did it again with this one. I think she did a really good job of integrating the bigger idea or conversation surrounding like elitism and class and how institutions like the private school that our main character attends just really don't care about their students. They kind of have culty vibes, if I'm being honest. And also, they really make decisions to save face more than to protect their students. Yeah. this tea is so good. This tea is called Sleepy Time Throat Coat. I'm not sick, but it's very it's very nice before bedtime. I'm filming this at like 10:30 at night, so I needed some tea to like really soothe my throat and everything. Okay, so we're getting into our top five, and at number five we have Mexican Gothic by Silvia Moreno Garcia. This one was a retelling of Edgar Allan Poe's, oh my god, what's it called? The Fall of the House of Usher. And I had not read that short story before reading this book. But I think I would enjoy it because I like this one. And yeah, I love the vibes. I love the small hint of romance there. It was cute. I thought the writing was really good. I thought the pacing was done well. I didn't think the language was too flowery, which I don't mind like flowery language. But sometimes when the author kind of focuses mostly on making the writing look pretty, I feel like they lose the plot. But Sylvia did not do that in this book. Okay, at number four, speaking of speculative fiction, we have Bunny by Mona Awad. This was my book club book for my girlies back at home, and it was not a crowd pleaser. And I have to admit that this book is not for everyone. It's such a mind, you know. Um, and it's one of those books that has an ending that is up for interpretation. I love those kind of books where I feel like I can go back and read it over again and over again, and I come to like different conclusions each time. That's what this book did for me. It was just so weird. Okay, it was so weird, but I loved it. Again, it's not for everyone. But this also reminded me of the movie The Craft or Heathers mixed with like Mean Girls. So yeah, if that's your vibe, would recommend picking up Bunny. But again, okay, it's not for everyone. And like I was saying, by the end of the book, like you're not really sure what's real and what's not. And that's what makes this book so good to me, I think. Yeah. At number three, we have Parable of the Sower and Parable of the Talents by Octavia E. Butler. Okay. If you've read these books, you know how good yet eerily, like, it's like looking into a mirror in our present day. Um, Not just because the books like this the first book starts in 2024, but just because of how close we are to a reality like this. It's scary. And I always find it interesting when people talk about, authors like Octavia E. Butler or James Baldwin or Toni Morrison. They're usually, like think of these writers as like really forward thinkers and creatives and just like kind of like they can see into the future, right? Which they are very creative and they are very forward thinking writers, and that's why everyone loves their work. But we're always in awe at how closely their writings and their stories resemble society. And I think that has a lot to do with the fact that they're just really good at observing humans and then writing about it. You know, humans are predictable. We are creatures of habit, and it's not that hard to see patterns. Okay, sitting at number two is An Ember in the Ashes series by Saba Tahir. Again, I don't want to hear it. Okay, I know there are multiple books in my one slot, but it's my list and I can make it however I want. Okay. Anyway, I finished this series in January of this year, and then I picked it back up toward the end of the year because I needed to read it again. That's how much I loved it. I also picked it for my second book, like for my book club. But yeah, I just can't get over how good Saboteur's writing is. Her foreshadowing is, when I read it again for the first time, I was like, oh, I was like picking up on all the breadcrumbs and the hints, and I was like, oh, oh, oh. But in addition to her foreshadowing skills, she's just really good at writing complex characters. Like even the characters you are supposed to hate, you kind of feel bad for sometimes. Um, and then she also is not afraid to put her characters through hell. Like not at all. And finally, the top spot, the number one book of this year. Drumroll, please. Babel by R.F. Kuang. Ah, when I tell you, I didn't think I was gonna like this book. Okay. It is one of the best dark academia books I have read ever. Okay. And this was also my intro to R.F. Kuang's work. Like, this is my first book ever read by her. And I'm not disappointed. R.F. Kuang does a great job of talking about, the role of colonialism, colonization, language. I like how it's where I feel like we were in class with the characters, learning the things that they're learning how language is used to like inscribe on the silver bars in for that they use in the books, and just how the bars are used throughout like the world, and kind of like if you control the bars, you control everything essentially. So I do have two honorable mentions because I really wanted to put them on the list, but I couldn't fit them anywhere. So I have two honorable mentions. I have This Thing Between Us by Gus Moreno and Air by Saba Tahir. So I really like This Thing Between Us because it's a horror fiction, speculative fiction book. There's a lot of body horror in there, like descriptive, gross. I was like, what am I reading? But this author did a really good job of kind of like using horror to kind of talk about grief and loneliness. And yeah, I would read this book again. I think so. And then Air by Saba Tahir is my other honorable mention. This one's going to be duology, so I finished this book knowing that I was not going to know the conclusion right away, and that hurt. That hurt my soul. I really wanted to know what's happening because the way that she left off, I was like, wait a minute. You can't you can't just leave me hanging like that, Saba. Come on. But I know that when the second book comes out, it'll all make sense. I'm hoping. So those are the top 10 books of 2024, and I look forward to seeing what next year has in store for me. Let me know in the comments if you had a book that stuck out to you this year that really resonated with you. What are your top 10? I am interested to find out. So don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe on your way out so you don't miss an upload, and I will see you in the next one. Adeuces. Don't forget to don't forget to hit that like button. Don't forget to